I think you've heard this story before. Three wise men came from faraway lands to follow a bright star in the sky. It is said that born under that star was a king from the prophecies, the Messiah. The wise men followed the star across the country, which led them to a stable in Bethlehem. Amongst the animals, they found Mary and Joseph, but most importantly, they found the baby Jesus in a manger. Immediately, they offered him 3 gifts as a sign of their respect: gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Why are you going to Bethlehem?
We came here following a star.
The story of the 3 wise men is a classic Christmas story. It's probably the reason why we even give gifts in the first place during Christmas. In fact, the story itself is an interpretation of what was written in the Bible. We don't know if there were exactly 3 wise men. Heck, we don't even know they were even wise at all. But nonetheless, from songs to movies to that one time in elementary school for a Christmas concert that I don't have pictures for, so you gotta trust me on that one, the tale of 3 or so men following a bright star to Jesus has stood the test of time for thousands of years.
Some are big, some are small, some are enormous.
Amazing!
We can't wait to share our discoveries with you.
Dinopaws series premiere Saturday, June 7th at 5, only on Tree.
Dinopaws. It's a show that follows 3 Dinopaws: Bob the Stegosaurus, Tony the Allosaurus, and Gwen the... I'm not even pronouncing that, and their various adventures exploring the world around them. It premiered in the UK on CBeebies in 2014 and received a Canadian dub at the same time, airing on Treehouse TV. It's a relatively cute show with a nice animation style, but has been largely forgotten except by those who remember it. Which is me. And only me, because I'm the only one that remembers this. However, one particular episode stands out among the number of 11-minute adventures, because this one is 22 minutes.
The Thing That Shone.
The Thing That Shone is the Dinopaws' first and only Christmas special, premiering on December 19th, 2014. The episode follows Gwen, Tony, and Bob as they make their way through the longest night. At certain points, Gwen encounters a light as warm as happiness and leads the gang and several other Dinopaws to find exactly what it's leading to. A trio making their way across the land to follow what's under a light. Doesn't that sound familiar? I think you've heard this story before. The Thing That Shone is presented as a story within a story. A young Dinopaw named Maureen and her baby brother sits with their mother and father as they recount the story of how the longest night even happened. Emerging from the hill, Gwen, Tony, and Bob are immediately confronted with the horrible weather. They try to rationalize with their situation, but they decide to sleep it out for the time being. Before they go to sleep, Gwen suspects that things will get better when they wake up. The world has gone white. Gwen eventually climbs up a hill, and soon becomes enraptured in a bright light in the sky, one that she describes as warm as happiness. It disappears before the others could see it, and so Gwen decides their task, to follow the light and get through this longest night. It's pretty obvious here the trio is supposed to be the 3 wise men, but they're not carrying gifts at all. They're only following the light. But that's actually far from the truth, as we'll soon find out. As the trio continue along their journey, they wonder what's at the end of the light. Just then, Bob suddenly hears something off-putting. Initially, it was perceived as their stomachs rumbling, but Bob is the first one to notice that the sound is not a stomach at all. It's a snowball rolling down a hill towards them. They begin to run away, only to be met by another snowball rolling down the other hill. The snowballs eventually crash into each other and reveal 2 Dinopaws of the same species, who become immediately infatuated with each other.
Me too.
Now, let's recall the 3 gifts from the 3 wise men story: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These aren't just gifts, they are supposed to represent an aspect of Jesus' life as well as foreshadow the future. Frankincense is a resin used in perfumes and aromatics, and used in many church rituals. In the context of the 3 wise men story, this gift represents Jesus' eventual role into the church and his priesthood. Now, what is an example of a church ritual that frankincense is used sometimes in and also requires a priest? Weddings. I don't need to describe what a wedding is, you already know what it is. But anyways, a wedding is a ritual that brings together two lovers into a mutual and intimate relationship. And you may already notice that something's familiar about these two Dinopaws. That's the same mother and father Dinopaw from the start, the ones that are telling the story. This was their first ever meeting, and this was the moment where they fell in love with each other. The couple here is Frankincense. And since Bob is the first one to ask them to join along in their journey,
Our Dinopaws not in snowballs, but we are looking for warm too.
this makes Bob the bringer of the gift of frankincense. But what about gold? Well, that's already been done. Before Gwen spotted the light, Tony encountered a bird. He kept saying,
It's gold.
and Tony decides to bring him along. In the Three Wise Men story, the gift of gold symbolizes royalty and kingship, alluding to Jesus' role as the newborn king. And although Jesus was not a traditional king, kings are usually held to such a high degree, being carried around by servants and being protected by outside forces. Gold is also used as a color to represent warmth. Almost like a king in his carriage, the bird is being carried in Tony's arms, protected from the outside. His whole shtick is that he's looking for warmth as well. And as I said, gold represents warmth. The bird is the gold, and Tony is bringing the gold. If you connected the dots, then that means Gwen would be the one that would carry the gift of myrrh. Now keep in mind, myrrh is another resin like frankincense. It's primarily used for embalming and mummification. It's primarily used for embalming and mummification. And in the Three Wise Men story, myrrh represents Jesus' mortality and foreshadows his upcoming death. Please keep note of this for the next minute. As the Dinopaws continue the march to the light, they go over another hill and are eventually stopped at a sea that's nearly frozen. Initially, they are unsure what to do until they hear a voice, and suddenly,
I don't suppose you could lend me a paw here?
drifting into view, standing on an iceberg, a lone elder Dinopaw. Now, what do old people represent? Wisdom? Intelligence? Longevity? Yes, those all apply. But they also do another thing. They die. Because old people are old and they die. And here we have an elder Dinopaw. You can tell he's old because of his voice.
I was wandering across the land and suddenly the land was lost at sea.
And his wrinkly body. And it should be noted that according to Dinopaw lore, Gwen is canonically the oldest of the main trio, and with her being the first to approach and jump to the elder Dinopaw, it aligns almost too perfectly. Gwen's gift is myrrh, and the myrrh is represented here through the elder Dinopaw, because old people die. So now we all have the gifts being brought together here. Tony is bringing gold, the bird. Bob is bringing frankincense, the couple, and Gwen is bringing myrrh, the elder Dinopaw. And they're all following a bright light in the sky, the star. Now at this point, you may be thinking that this is a dumbass dumb theory with a whole bunch of nothing and that I should get a job. And you're right. For now. As they continue, something's off when they reach the next hill. The air grows colder and suddenly,
It's white.
morale hits an all-time low. The light that Gwen has been following is now gone. Also, Tony gets a rock. Take note of this rock for later. Eventually, in the distance, the elder Dinopaw and Gwen spots a cave to take shelter in, and everyone heads there. And there, they find someone's already occupying the cave. Oh my god. Oh my f***ing god, that's Mary and Jesus. That's literally Mary and Jesus. They couldn't hide it if they tried. A Dinopaw mother and a baby Dinopaw hiding in shelter, and that Dinopaw is colored blue, like how Mary's always portrayed in blue. The cave they're in is the stable, and as we see later, the light reappears above the cave. This is the light that led them to the stable. The light is clearly the star that led them to the baby Jesus and Mary. Oh, and the rock that Tony brings, he gives it to the baby. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. Having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. Stone. Rock. The trio Dinopaws brought gifts, but Tony brought the rock that sets the foundation. Tony single-handedly brought forth Christianity to the Dinopaw world and basically started Christmas too, because at the end of the episode, he gives Maureen's little brother a gift as well, and they establish a holiday called Togethernmost, where they recall the story of the longest night and gives gifts, like how we recall the story of the Nativity and the Three Wise Men and give gifts in a holiday called Christmas. The Three Wise Men, the trio Dinopaw, Gwen, Bob, and Tony. The three gifts, the gold, the bird, frankincense, the couple, and myrrh, the elder Dinopaw. The mother and baby Dinopaw, that's Mary and Jesus. The stable, the cave, the star, the light as warm as happiness. So yes, The Thing That Shone from the Dinopaws is a retelling adaptation of the Three Wise Men story. Where's Joseph? Where's King Herod? Who cares? I was right. Suck on the 0 people who didn't believe me. Boom, baby! So, what did we learn tonight? The Three Wise Men story is a universal story that has survived through thousands of years of history and interpretations. Even if those thousands of years eventually led to some dinosaur show basically, and allegedly, creating a Christmas special based on the story, it just shows how timeless this tale is now and for many generations to come. But it still doesn't answer this question. Why though? And also, if Tony was the one that started Christmas in the Dinopaws verse, does that also make him God? You know, never mind, I'm going in and out.
Christmas Day, only when I suck your smack your cheeks and everybody's so